until Wednesday. Okay, we are recording.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Here it is, another Human Design Week underway, and I am here with Jason Livanis, and we are going to talk about the energies of this week, both from a tarot perspective and from a human design perspective. So, hello, Jason, how are you doing?
I'm fantastic. This is probably my favorite time of the year. Next to Thanksgiving, Halloween's my favorite holiday. So I'm gearing up for that. I'm doing a lot of tarot card readings, dressed as a gypsy card reader, which is always fun.
Aren't you doing a Halloween party somewhere for people?
I am this coming Saturday, a big one, big corporate event, which is always great because you get all these people who have, they're this much constipated, and then they get in front of me and I start talking about orgasms and things, and they're looking like, oh my God, it's something out of the blue for them. But it's fun because I get to help them loosen up a little bit and have some fun, which is good. Bring them down a few notches, let them be real.
They think that they're that this is a really fun gypsy man that we're talking to today.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we have some interesting energies this week, as we always seem to, or at least this whole month has been one of those months of lots of spleen energy. And we continue that sort of spleen energy as we move into this week as well, with the sun at gate 28, the gate of struggle. So if you remember correctly, the gates that are on the spleen can often be the sources of fear, false evidence appearing real as an acronym, as opposed to those real fears, because the spleen itself is the center for time, intuition, health, and essentially survival energies. So when we have gate 28 in the sun, what we have is the struggle to make things worthwhile, the struggle to find meaning in life and to find the things that actually are worth changing for. And because it is transformational energy, it's pretty mutative if you think about it, in that we have all kinds of things that we can do at any given time. We have lots of dreams and lots of things that we want to act on, but only a certain percentage of them are actually going to be worth taking from concept all the way into actuality. So gate 28 struggles with this. And then at times this becomes the energy of people who are pushing boundaries so that they can feel something, so they can feel like there's a meaning to life. And some of the boundaries that they take, or some of the risks that they take, can blow up in their faces. And other times it can be something that really takes them into new territory. So this sun comes with a bit of a warning, as in, if this is not natal energy to you, make sure that you're not taking risks. Listen to your type and your strategy and your authority, and only make decisions that are correct for you.
Apropos this, I think some of the viewers, will find our next period of time together illuminating, because I've just begun studying with Janet. I get weekly coaching sessions, as people there I've mentioned last week. And so you're going to hear me ask probably more rudimentary questions than you generally hear, or maybe some of the viewers like to hear. But I'm sure there are newbies that are joining you as well. So yeah. Everyone can go fart in a basket and listen to my stupid little questions. So when you talk about spleen energy, I know that we have talked about the red numbers versus the black numbers, unconscious, conscious, and how sometimes when I look at the connections and such, they are pulsators. The spleen, is it a pulsator?
I think what you're talking about is that some of the energy centers are motors, and so they have an energy associated with them. For example, the sacral that hums, right? But the spleen is not a motor. It is an awareness center in some way, but the awareness in that center is really about intuition and knowing, for example, when it's time to run and when it's time to stay. As those are fears that we've evolved to understand, that idea of survival, fight or flight. Unfortunately, there's not much left in our world anymore for us to fight or flight about, right? There's not dinosaurs perhaps after us, or meat eaters, or big cats. We just don't have that same kind of push to survive that we used to have. So these fears have morphed over time, and they've become fears that really aren't true. But the nice thing about the spleen is that, Jason, this is a center of time. And any fear that pops up, if you just push through it, it tends to just dissipate, go away. Poof, it's gone. Maybe never to return again.
Let me piggyback on this idea. First of all, to the viewers as well, it would be very easy, and it's very seductive to me to get a readout from you of the energies and what we're going to be talking about, and then for me to like go and pick out the right cards so they're always in sync. That would be that's a very attractive idea, but unfortunately it's disingenuous, and I hate fucking liars. So keeping that in perspective, I never do that. And so I pick cards and I think to myself, oh heavens, what am I going to pick? What if I pick a card that's totally like, doesn't make sense? But
it's never happened yet.
Exactly. So I think this is going to be kind of fascinating, Janet, to see. The very last card of the major arcana is the universe. Can you see that pretty clearly?
Yes, I can.
And it's beautiful. Earth, fire, wind, all of the Megillah. Totality. Look at this person. They are in absolute divineness. They are in the lotus position, the Kundalini energy, the eye of God. We've got, the north, south, east, west winds. We've got all of the elements. This is actually one of my favorite cards of the Tarot.
Nice.
It talks about completion. Now, while you, in fact, were referring to struggle and the spleen and all of that, happy horseshit. I want people to hear that what this card is basically saying is relax. This card is saying in a very simple way, we have everything we need. We are total. But what it really does is it refers to time, the universe. There is no time. And this card asks us all to sit in meditation, minimum of 5 minutes a day. So all of you viewers out there, bite your noses, bite your asses. I don't care what you have to do for this next period, 5 minutes. Set your alarm and listen to yourself. I know very often you're saying to people, listen to your body. This is exactly what this card is saying. What I love about this card is that it talks about expansion, contraction, and how cyclical things are. So when things are contracting, let's just say this next period, you're feeling contracted. It says don't freak out. All of you generators out there, do not jump ship.
Right. Don't jump ship.
When you're contracted. Now let's just say you, Madam Generator, this next period, you're having a fantastic time. You're feeling expansive. It says party. Enjoy yourself. Revel in it. Have fun with it. Don't always be, maybe I should. Enjoy yourself. This card is trying to say, be in the moment, be with the universe. If you're doing well, be well. Share the wealth. If you're feeling contracted, sit with it. It's okay. And that's what this card says to me for your Sun, Gate 28 struggle.
Yeah. There's a lot of stubborn energy in Gate 28 as well, where the sun is sitting. And I think it's probably right up there with one of the most stubborn characteristics of the entire human design system. So don't get so rooted in the struggle. Don't be so stubborn to not be able to see the forest for the trees, and stop if it's appropriate or keep going if it's appropriate. There's no rule that says you have to stick with everything until it's finished. That doesn't work all the time, and it's not evolutionarily reliable to do something like that. So be willing to let go of some things in alignment with your type and your strategy, if it seems appropriate to do that. Stop beating your head up against the wall, and move into some different energy.
Do you know why I do that?
Huh?
Do you know why I do that?
Beat your head against the wall?
Yeah.
No, why?
Because it feels so good when I stop.
Okay, there you go. It feels so good when you stop struggling. Right? So,
yes.
And a lot of people, this is going to be alien energy, right? So this energy of struggle to some people may seem like it's really, why am I struggling so mightily this week? Because you don't normally have that as part of your chart. The people who already have Gate 28 in their chart aren't going to notice much in terms of additional struggle. But for those of us like me, I don't have struggle, but what am I doing all week so far? I can already see the handwriting on the wall. And so I'm already reminding myself about how to move through this time period with peace. Meditation is a great tool, and one I will definitely remember as this week wears on.
Yeah.
So the Earth for us this week is sitting in an interesting gate as well. It is sitting at Gate 27, the gate of responsibility. Gate 27 sits on the sacral and is reaching out toward the spleen. And remember last week we had gate 50. The sun was sitting in gate 50, which was the gate of values and laws that we share with the tribe and the nurturing, loving sort of gate. Mm-hmm. Well, 27 is also part of that tribal energy, but this is the energy about responsibility and the responsibility we have to educate the tribe. And this is tribal energy that wants to share of itself, its resources, and transmitting the values of the tribe or the group or the community, and as an educational process. So I mean, we send our kids to school to learn how to behave in a community, in an economic way, really. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's pretty much what we do. And it's gate 27 that shares the values of the tribe with the younger generation or with the people that are entering into the community or the tribe. There's also a sense of dispersing resources here, food, water, money, all the different things that we think of as resources in support of the tribe or community. So the earth is very grounding for us this week. And it's very much part of the sacral energy of sustainability. And how do we create a sustainable tribe? Well, we educate them, we feed them, we water them, we give them clothes and shelter and all these kinds of things. And I think in some ways it is a reminder that no group or any group, any community, any tribe is only as strong as their weakest link. So what can we do to empower the entire community?
Very nice.
How did you do that? I can't do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting. Mm-hmm. The card that I pulled, I didn't think I would pull. It is the Seven of Swords. And when you look at the Seven of Swords there, you see this beautiful sword. You see wings for the actual handle, the eye of God that's here, and then you see these other interfering lines that are going through it. So this sword is cutting through that, which talks about truth. The name of the card, however, is called Deceit, which is which is fascinating. You know, the fact of the matter is that when I relate this card tribally, or tribe-like, in a tribe-like manner, what we have to understand is, what are we giving our society? Well, we live primarily in an ageist society, in a sexist society, in a racist society. So that being what it is important when you talk about, what are we teaching our kids? What are we doing? But moreover, this talks about us. When it talks about the earth, for this time period, I want people to think about the responsibility that they have to themselves and that they have to others, because you're going to find yourself cutting through and coming up against ageism, sexism, racism, all of these things. And interestingly enough, when you look at the eye of God that's here, it talks about the truth. Now, I'm not about to sit here with my defined ajna. Don't you laugh at me, woman.
And dictate the truth.
And dictate the truth. But interestingly enough, the truth is not subjective. And regardless of whether people might think out there, your truth is not my truth. There are some truths that, in fact, have nothing to do with subjectivity. They are. This is a wand. This is not an eggplant. So it's important to really look at. It's true. It's important to look at things for what they are. Now, one of the other things that I love about this is it asks us what forces, are at work trying to manipulate or deceive you into thinking or doing what is counterproductive to your best interests. If you start to teach your children ageism, sexism, racism, how is that going to help them?
Yeah.
How is it going to help you? But moreover, how is it going to help us as a tribe? It's simply not going to, Janet. And the other thing that I love about this card is that it asks you to trust yourself first. And then by trusting yourself, you can trust the universe. That universal card, sun and the earth, always working together. To trust the universe, and then learn from misplaced trust, so that you can then begin to ask the right questions. And what are we always doing in human design? Trying to find the what.
The what? What's the what?
the right questions. And so, interestingly enough, the deceit card comes up for this week with respects to that gate of responsibility that you were discussing.
You know what I find really interesting about that is I was just checking my little book here. For people who have never seen a book like this, this tells us where all the energies are for the week, for the whole month. This is just October, so it's really good at getting us, through all the different planetary energies. And Neptune is sitting at gate 37. And as soon as you started talking about deception, what I realized was, wow, in astrology, that's the planet Neptune. I don't often talk about the outer planets in human design unless they're changing signs or changing gates.
Why is that?
Pardon me?
Why is that?
Because they're outer planets and they stay in the same place for a long time. So there's not a whole lot changing about them as time goes on.
Got it.
But when something like this comes up, it reminds me to go, oh, okay, so Neptune is sitting at gate 37, which is a gate, it's also part of the tribal energy. And gate 37 is about how we bond with friends, how we create associations with people. It's part of a contract and agreements channel, 4037. And so this means that we are being probably asked to be very transparent and to not try to enact deceptions either on ourselves or others, to be in the truth. And in this case, the truth will set you free. So interesting combination of things there that you intuited through your little cards. My
little cards. Listen to how wonderful you are. Your little cards. You never look at a man and say your little anything, but that's all right. Go ahead.
I once had a tarot deck, a mini. What is that tarot deck called? The Rider-Waite deck.
Rider-Waite, yeah. Yeah, they're really cute, and they come in a little plastic holder.
Yeah, but the problem is now I can't hardly see anything on them. So it was funny when I was in my 30s and I didn't need reading glasses.
Sing it, sister, sing it. So talk to me about Mercury and its little dance this week.
Well, Mercury's walking lockstep with the sun. So it begins the week in gate 28 as the sun does. So we're struggling again here a bit, but this time we're struggling with communication because Mercury is the communication planet. It represents what we speak to. And so in this week, we may find some of the people in our lives that are struggling and they're speaking to that struggle. And maybe you, if you're not experiencing the same struggle, can help them by being a good listener, listening to what they're saying and being able to speak to the fact that they're struggling mightily with something. It is not unusual, by the way, for gate 28 people to consider suicide. And it's not just the gate 28 people. There has to be other indicators as well. But if somebody's that low, struggling that mightily that they're ready to leave the planet, a kind word from you can stop that process. Being generous with your time, whether it's with your children, your friends, your family, somebody who needs a lift up, a hand up. Don't be afraid to do that with them this week. They may be struggling trying to understand what it is they're feeling, and you may be in the know because you're maybe more metaphysical or more spiritual. And they're
how to find Ajna.
Yeah, exactly. And we don't know that always, right? I don't sit and pull up charts on everybody that I come in contact with. I try, if I really need to counsel them in some way. But a lot of you don't have access to that. So what are you going to do? You're going to spend some time with them. You're going to lend them your ears, and you're going to listen from the heart, from a space of not getting involved with fear or trying to judge them or anything like that, but just listening and being able to communicate with them on a heart-to-heart level. Later in the week, Mercury moves out of the gate 28 and into gate 44, also a spleen gate. So this is very interesting. We continue this theme of fears, which are also called paralysis points. Here's a really interesting paralysis point, because it's the fear of the past, or more appropriately, the fear that the past will repeat itself. So like, I've been burned in a relationship, so now I'm not going to get into a new relationship because last time I did, this happened. I'm not going to try anything different because the last time I tried something different, it blew up in my face, and now I'm not going to do that anymore.
Why is it referred to as energy?
No answer for that, really. There's just, some of the gates have the very
there's a reason why I'm asking, not just to stump the master, but because of the card that I pulled with respects to that, which is an hyper energy card. So I was wondering, what there might relevance that might be. And while I'm gabbing along, you might want to look at one of your books or whatever. But
there's no answer. We've asked this question.
All right.
But there's a little bit before you go into that card, just in case this is pertinent. That gate 44's energy isn't always just about the fear of the past repeating itself.
Okay.
In that energy is the real ability to take the best from the past, marry it to something that we know of from the now, and make something more coherent for a future. It is a paradigm in the shift, right? That we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. In other words, we keep what was working, we keep what's beautiful, and we marry it to something new and move forward. But this is also an energy that is about kindness. It's about sort of the greeter energy. I often call it cheerleader energy, and I'm really good at this cheerleader thing and cheering people on. And kind of Mercury here means maybe we can communicate with a little bit different voice this week as well, in seeking to empower, uplift, and energize people.
If you were to give me, and it might be an inapropos question, but if you were to give me a masculine versus feminine energy to this scenario, could you give me one? And for any particular reason?
I think it's probably not either. I think it's probably the best of both the masculine and the best of the feminine.
So if I may, let me tell you what I picked and why I asked those two particular questions. First of all, again, I want to piggyback on what you said about this idea of kindness. One of my favorite cards in the tarot is this card here, card number 19. You can see it well enough on your screen.
Very beautiful, the sun.
It is the sun. Now, tell me, Janet, what do you see? What is that, the torso of this sun doing?
It's shining light.
And it's going for a hug.
It looks like it. And then there's also this, it looks like the sacral, or not the sacral, but the emotional solar plexus energy here. And
exactly. And so what you see basically is the sun here, which is sort of in the head. And then in this area here as well is a minor version of this, macro and micro. It is a very
above, so below.
It is a very paternal card. It talks about loving, fatherly energy. Besides the Emperor, this is one of those cards. This is a card of joy. This is a card of real love, making somebody feel good. It is an activating card. So when you talked about, go out there and help someone, go out there, go ahead and shine your light on someone.
Oh, perfect. I love that.
This is the card of Apollo. This is the card of true warmth and kindness, what you said before. Now that can speak very much to the struggle part, the aspect of that, helping out your brother man, being that, if you can be paternal, because very often our, matriarchal and patriarchal energies are really the only things that help people at the end of the day, because we need mommy and daddy. That's just the way it goes. Interestingly enough, the energy that it goes into gate 44, this idea that you called energy, which you said doesn't mean a goddamn thing. If you look at this right here, right, this card, it is the Eight of Wands, and it might be a little hard to see because of our intercontinental thing, but you are here, and we have energy flying off. It's a hot card. It's an active card. Again, same idea of the circular. It's a little less gentle than this. It moves into a far more aggressive scenario. But you can see this wands as they're going off. At the end of them are hands, and literally energy is spinning off. So this card, this card, when you talked about that energy, I'm going to basically tell you to keep cool for the second part of this. Mm-hmm. And it talks about cycles. It talks about how everything goes around, comes around, goes around, comes around, past, present, future, but you're always at the center of it. You have the ability to take command of that and make the best of it. This is another card that tells you, pay attention to your energy as we shift into the second part of the week.
Nice.
Don't deplete yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So over here, when we talk about helping others, keep some of that kind energy for yourself?
Well, isn't it true that we're often our own worst enemies, right? We talk to ourselves in ways that we would never talk to a friend or a client or our family for that matter. So yeah, I think, you bring yourself to the center of that card and make sure that what's coming out from you is also clean as it comes back inward to you. It reminds me of the Wheel of Dharma a bit too, seeing the 8 arms coming out.
You were very stingy this week with me. I want all the viewers to know she was stingy. Usually she gives me a rundown of everything. She only gave me a little quickie rundown of the first couple. And so for the next 3 or 4 things, I got nada, except for one word information, which will be interesting. Which will be interesting to see what the hell you have to say next. So talk to me a little bit about Mars, our Barringer of War, going from gate 54 to gate 61 this week.
Well, Mars was doing the dance at gate 38 as we were moving into some of the stormy astrological weather over the last 2 weeks. And so was Pluto sitting at gate 38 as well. So that's the gate of the fight. And so we were fighting, and that meets up with struggle. And so it was creating this energy of, is it any wonder people are having their hearts go out of whack and things like that, because it's really very glitchy sort of energy. Then Mars moved into gate 54, and I was really like, oh, nice, because gate 54 is really the drive for ambition, or the drive to succeed, and the ambition to proceed in search of what is going to bring us success. But on a real spiritual level, this begins the drive for enlightenment. And it is in the very beginning of the mystical circuit, we can talk about gate 54 as being the impetus to begin the hero's journey. So Mars is activating, or had been activating, the drive for enlightenment. And this week it moves out of 54 and into 61, which is the mystery, right? This is where we can know the unknowable. Where we can tap into things we know, but we don't know how we know what we know. Nor should we answer the question, how do I know what I know? Because it's just unknowable. And here is also the energy of us trying to figure things out again. And because the 61 is up in the head, it's the middle gate coming down. In the head, this is us trying to figure things out. And it's not our job, remember, to figure out how something is going to happen, but to declare the what. What I find really interesting, though, is that, when Mars was conjunct Pluto on the 19th, 20th, and 21st, essentially, they were both sitting at the gate 54. And this often brings us the energy, eventually, Pluto, sitting here now for long term, is going to be bringing us the energy of enlightenment in business and changing. It would not surprise me in the least if over the next few years we see, maybe even this year, we see Citizens United overturned, corporations no longer having that status of personhood, and getting the money out of corporate, getting corporate money out of our elections, so that we have some transparency and a voice again as an individual, and not these corporations that by paying money have a bigger voice than you or I together even have. So I see that we are on a path to enlightenment. It doesn't look like it yet on the outer world so much, but yet it's a direction we're heading. So Pluto, Mars working in that case, Mars now activating later in the week that energy of the mystery. So allowing ourselves to not know, right? Not know. And then what we know, don't question what we know. But Jupiter also made a move this week. Actually, it moves out today from gate 18, which was the gate of perfection, into gate 48, which is much more about the search for mastery, right? It begins it's part of the stream of mastery, where we are looking at the depth of something. So if I'm going to be an astrologer, I'm going to go to the depths of it, right? I'm going to live in the depths of this and master the whole idea of astrology. But 48 is also on the spleen. So we have another fear that we get to play with this week, and that's the fear of inadequacy. I'm not good enough. I don't know enough. And so we see Jupiter now playing a little bit with Mars this week in terms of, you know what you know, don't ask why you know what you know, and certainly don't go on the search for more information that would stop you from acting. So, how some people, they think, I've got all these letters after my name. I've read all these books. I've taken all these classes, yet they're not out there in the world actively doing what they're here to do because they need just one more book, just one more class, one more certification, one more initial after my name, and then I will do it. So step out there. It's your turn to be enlightened and to help the world and become enlightened.
So you threw a ball there. You clumped Mars, it's 2 gates, and you put Jupiter in there.
Yeah.
Okay. So give me a quickie, because there was a, a lot of words there, lady. Can you give us a quickie synopsis, please, so that I can give you the 3 cards so that they will make sense?
Quickie synopsis. Get out of your head, stay in your heart, be kind, be wise in how you use your words, and be kind to yourself, and the struggle is worth it.
Okay. So given the Mars Gate 54 drive, then Gate 61 mystery scenario, let me speak to that very quickly.
Sure.
Interestingly enough, we have our Queen of Discs. She's the big mama of the discs. One of the most important of the discs. Now, does she look like she's being very active here?
She looks like she's receiving.
She's sitting down. She's a big old, big-boned girl from Alberta. She has got her large, voluminous breasts, milk of human kindness. This card is it's called the provider of substance, or the provider of substance. She's hanging out in her flora and her fauna. She's got her beautiful, I'll bring that in closer. You can see the horns. She's a woodland creature. She's hanging. She's not very active. She's not working very, very hard here. And it talks about drive. Now, how does this relate? Well, this is a card that says, okay, time to take stock. You've arrived at where you've arrived to on this day. I need you to look at your cupboards.
Amber alert. I can't shut. There it is. Somebody stole a child in Spokane.
Okay. Hi, welcome to Being Absurd. I'm your host, Jason. Our first guest is nothing. Getting back. That was pretty funny.
It's a serious thing. Do you guys not have Amber alerts on the East Coast?
Yes, of course we do.
Good. So.
Well, I hope they find whoever they're trying to find. This card asks you to look at your cupboards. It asks you to take stock now of where you're at. Now, how does this relate to drive? I will guarantee you 9 times out of 10, when you start to take stock of what you need in your home, what you need in your life, it starts to put a little fire under your tuchus, as my Jewish friends would say, as to what you need to get done, the drive that you need to get done. Now, talking about the mystery part. This is a very important metaphysical card. Most people think that it has to do with just money. If you look at this card, I'm going to put up the name here. You see the cups. Tell me what's happening in this card, Janet, Interplanetary Janet.
These cups look like they're being filled.
And what's happening to them?
They're filling up. They're overflowing.
And what's going on in the bottom of the cup?
I can't tell.
Well, right here you see the energy, the substance flowing into the cup, and then
flowing out the bottom and into the other cups. There we go.
There we go. Exactly, flow, but not exactly in the best way. What the card is talking about is wasted energies,
leakage,
exactly. But interestingly enough, the card is called emotional drain. It tells you that towards the second part of this week with Mars, Derringer of war, pain in the ass, it says for you to take a look at the people that are emotionally draining you, the situations that are emotionally draining you. And how does that correlate to mystery? How does that correlate to metaphysics? It's very simple to me. It tells you to draw a distinct line around your metaphysical garden and tend to it. As you start this new period of metaphysics, don't go out there. We have a caller sometimes, and you know who you are out there that calls in with a little bit of a woe is me scenario. about people attacking this person psychically. Now, this card says, in this next period, make sure you're doing your grounding work. Make sure you're doing your protection work. Don't just go out there with this open head and this open this and allow every influence in the world to come in and drain you.
Isn't that interesting as we get to the point in time where the veil is getting thinner and thinner as we near Halloween and Halloweeny.
So this card says to you, take stock of who's draining you, who are you allowing to drain you, because the other way is a victim, and we don't want any victims. Who are you allowing, and what situation are you allowing to drain you? Make sure you take a look at it and put your defenses up so that you can equalize and you can keep your cups full and go forward from there.
Nice. Nice, nice. Great words, great reading. Thank you, Jason. I love it when the cards kind of back up everything else that we know to be true as far as human design.
Now, you talked to me about Madam, or Mr. Jupiter, I should say, and talking about depth. Another spleen thing you said?
Yeah, the spleen.
And you said it's about what fear this time?
Inadequacy.
Stop. Ugh, not one of my favorite cards, and I've given this to you before, and here we go.
Oh.
What's it look like?
He's tearing off his face.
Not happy. This is an ugly, ugly, ugly industrial card. The Three of Discs. The name of the card is Worry.
Oh.
Am I good enough? Will I ever be good enough? Was I good enough in the past? It talks about how
much more do I do before I can actually be a master of what I know to be true?
Interestingly enough, it asks ourselves, how do we do ourselves harm when we worry? It asks us, are you afraid of people taking your ideas and you're sitting by idly? It's an interesting question. It also asks you, are you afraid of success? So all of you moonyachts out there who are needing the extra degree, needing the extra paper, needing the extra validation, are you just, what is it called when you're sitting there in water, but you're paddling? You're not going forward and not going behind. You're just, I can't remember the word. And you're just sitting there, but you're paddling and you're not making any movement. And that's what people are doing by
treading water.
Treading water, thank you. I'm slightly retarded today. I was going to tell your viewers that I'm really out of it because I'm dealing with allergies and I'm dealing with allergy medication and I'm a little stoned because of it. Yeah, exactly. Treading water. What am I afraid of? Am I afraid of success?
Yeah.
And so this card with Jupiter in the gate 48 with depth says, you're wasting your energy. You're wasting your energy. Don't do it.
That is really interesting because what does fuel the fear of inadequacy is that idea maybe it's a fear of failure, but it can also be the fear of success. So interesting stuff.
The last individual on our hit parade is Pluto today. 854 referring to drive, which I think is interesting because it's going to be hanging out with Mars. What happens when Pluto and Mars hang out? I know when the sun hangs out with different planets, it energizes that and it sort of amplifies that like a white crystal. Yeah. What happens with Pluto, or what happens with Mars when it hangs out with another planet? Is it always?
It's all about, with Pluto, we're talking about transformation, and what we're talking about with Mars is a catalyst to action. So you have a planet that's catalyzing action of a transformative nature. Now, they were conjunct last week, and now Mars, being the faster planet, has moved on and moving away from Pluto. But whatever's been catalyzed on those few days, whatever you had to confront within yourself, whatever that you started moving toward, has to gain speed now, and it has to be something that's of a transformative nature. We can't stay stagnant, in other words. And it has to be empowering too, and not disempowering. So interesting energies there together.
9 of discs. Now I'm going to show you the top of the card. Look at who we have dancing above it.
Another goddess, bare-breasted goddess.
Yeah, and these beautiful jewels. Interesting question. An interesting card because it doesn't automatically speak to abundance and riches. This card says, if we had all the money in the world, what would we do? This card, yeah. This card also says, it's called actually the giving and receiving card. It's very interesting. It's called giving and receiving. And it says, listen, if you have enough food in your cupboard, give some. If you're I love Susie Ormond, her shows. I used to watch them about personal wealth. Every time she said she made money, a small portion or a large portion of her paycheck went to donations, because it is important, especially now. Last week, all of you that tuned into our radio show, we discussed money, and we discussed the energies of money. This, because of the jewels, especially, talks about the flow of money. Are you hoarding it? Guaranteed, if you hoard it, it will not be coming in abundance. You've got to make sure that it is flowing, and you've got to make sure that your relationship to money is proper, and that your relationship to wealth is proper. And it's important to look at this card and say to yourself, I am truly blessed. And then from that, go ahead and work with the Sun card, and which was our Earth card, and help people. Because I guarantee you that with this energy, what was, like you said, initiated in that time, if you use this energy properly, you're going to reap the fruits of that labor by giving.
And
when you give, you receive.
Giving and receiving. That constant flow.
Just like anything else, the expansion and contraction, the yin and yang. This idea. Madam Goddess Blue Eyes, tell me, if people want to get in touch with you for a human design or astrological reading, what do they do?
They can go to my website at www.livingastrology or living-astrology.com.
And they can get a free chart from you?
Oh, yeah. In fact, now I have, because there's no Mercury retrograde on the horizon, I have a free Jupiter and Libra chart. So they can get their free Jupiter and Libra chart. They can get a free human design chart.
I want a free Jupiter and Libra chart. Anyway, I'll talk to you on Wednesday for that when we do our coaching.
There we go.
If anybody needs a tarot card reading, they can reach me at zenstaging@gmail.com, and we can be in communication that way. Other than that, this was fascinating. I want to thank you for always being wonderful and illuminating.
Stop. Are we going to whisper about your new thing?
Okay. So, Janet has lit a fire under my ass, and as many of you know, I co-produce and I co-host her weekly radio show on Blog Talk Radio for Living Astrology, where we have guests come on, we have callers come in, and she does quickie readings. And it seems that there has been a positive response to my tarot card readings. And Janet said, hey, mister, why don't you think about doing a radio show by yourself? And being a good student, I said to her, thank you for the opportunity, but I'll have to think about it as a generator.
No, you said, let me feel my way into it.
Well, I was trying to be good.
But you were, because you were emotionally defined. So you have to wait and see how you feel about it.
I had to see how I felt about it. I tossed it around and I said yes. So this coming, I believe, November 16th, which is a Wednesday, will be the launch, the Maiden Voyant launch show, where I will be giving readings over the air, probably giving some background on the tarot, and yeah, seeing what kind of response we get, and doing a show on my own. So
and the name of it is?
Titillating Tarot with Jason Livanis.
I love the
name. So yeah, and alliteration always gets me going. Other than that, let's let our viewers know that you said this human design period ends on the
30th, through the 30th.
That means everybody stay tuned for our Halloweeny show. Our
Halloween and the preview of November's energies. And then, of course, that includes the next week. So
wonderful. So I look forward to seeing you before Halloweeny, and we will talk soon. Thank you.
Take care, everybody. Have a stellar week, and we'll see you again soon.
Blessed be.